Okay, we are live on Facebook. Give me one moment and we'll go live on Instagram. And we are now live on Instagram. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Start the Week with Spencer. So this is our once a week question and answer session where parents can come from all around the world and ask their questions. Go ahead and post any questions that you have. It could be about the Doman Method, about kids with special needs, about early childhood education, parenting. And if I can't answer your question, I'll try to direct you in the to a place where you can get a question answered. So, whether you are joining me right now on Facebook or Instagram, go ahead and start typing your questions in and I will take them in order. Now, for my first question, I've actually done 3 interviews on different podcasts and Instagram lives in the last week, which has really been a great opportunity to field questions from parents and the interviewers alike. And one question that I was asked, which was very helpful from an interviewer, was if you could only tell a parent one thing, whether the child has special needs or is a well neurotypical kid, if you could only tell them one thing, what would you tell them? And my answer to that was make every moment a teaching moment. Make every moment a teaching moment. So as I've said many times, right, we know at Doman International that no one is more important in the life of a child than their parents, because parents love their children more than anyone else. They give their children more time than anyone else. They're more dedicated to their future. And so parents' primary role for a child, besides, of course, providing them with love, is preparing them for their lives. And so when I said make every moment into a teaching moment, parents spend so much time with their children, but often don't realize that every bit of stimulation that they give their child, every bit of information that they give their kid, is not just helpful for the child for their learning ability, but is actually essential for brain development. In fact, there are only a handful of things that have been shown in scientific research to change the brain and how the human brain develops. But one of those things that's been demonstrated to create neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to change, is called newness, right? Whenever you present something new to an individual that they've never seen before, that they've never learned before, that changes brain function and brain structure, right? Learning changes brain function. And so when you teach a child something new, that not only gives them knowledge that will help them in their life, but it also changes their brain development. And so it's very important to incorporate newness into your parenting. And the best way to do that is make every moment into a teaching moment, right? Let's take examples from maybe real life, right? You're in a car, the child is sitting in the back. You say, all right, let's take the numbers on the license plates in front of us and add them up, right? Making every moment into a teaching moment. Or maybe you're out for a walk with your child and you label things as you go, right? You say, oh, look, there's a person walking a chihuahua, right? And look at the fluffy white clouds above us. Look at the blue sky, right? Oh, look at that. That's a bush, right? So you label and orient the child by making every moment into a teaching moment. Also, when you do this, you are giving your child a lot more exposure to vocabulary, right? The child's hearing many words they may not have heard otherwise. And you're also teaching the child to be observant and curious about the world around them, right? Other things that you could do, right? Reading to a child every day, right? Again, making moments into teaching moments, right? You're preparing food and your child is, standing next to you waiting for the food. Why don't you take some time to actually tell your child what you're doing, narrate what you're doing, and they can learn from that. So it's something which is so simple that you can do in the present moment. It requires no preparation. It just requires a bit of presence, which can be very difficult for parents, right? Because parents are always thinking, what do I have to do, to prepare my child for whatever we're going to do next? Or sometimes parents are thinking about the past. Did I get everything done today that I needed to get done, right? And that often takes parents out of the present moment, right? They're not mentally there with their child. And instead, if parents stay present and say, okay, I'm going to make this moment into a teaching moment for my kid, it's not just a great opportunity for the child to learn and for brain development, but also for bonding. So yeah, that's my answer. If anyone said to me, what's one thing a parent could do for their child, I'd say make every moment into a teaching moment. Okay, I've started to have some questions coming in on Facebook and Instagram. I'll start with a question on Facebook from Akhtar, who says, it is good that you have a training program. It is a virtual program. Do you have any actual in-person program for parents from different countries? So good question, Akhtar. So our first program, which is a course, is online. Okay, and that course is only online. And so we have the Doman Method course, which has been the one way that all families entered onto the Doman International's program in the past 5 years. We are now in May launching a new course called Answering Autism, which is specifically for parents with children with autism. And that's going to be the remote course for those parents. Now, we do have in-person appointments. So these are appointments at our clinics in different parts of the world, where families actually come, they bring their children, and our staff assess their children and then design a customized program for their kids. And just to give you an idea of, we do appointments in many parts of the world, but this year we have appointments planned for Philadelphia, which is where we're headquartered, California. Italy is our European center. We see families in Serbia and Croatia, right, in Eastern Europe, in Moscow, Russia, in India, in New Delhi and Bangalore, and then also in Australia and New Zealand. I think I've listed every place that we have in-person appointments scheduled. And so very often families take our course, but they also want their children assessed, right? They want their children evaluated. They want a customized program made for their kid. And so those parents can come for an in-person appointment. And I do want to say, Akhtar, sometimes a parent will contact us and say, we want to do in-person as soon as possible. For those families, we offer that, right? We say, okay, we'll schedule an in-person appointment for you. And, usually parents need 1 to 2 months to plan that, right? Because it requires travel and all of that. And in the meantime, we give them access to our online course that helps prepare them for the appointment. Okay. Hopefully that answers all of your questions. Feel free to ask me if you're interested in like dates in certain parts of the world. Let me know, and I'd be happy to answer it. All right. I got a question on Instagram from Natalia. Okay. And Natalia is asking, what's the difference between Doman International and the Institutes for the Achievement of Human Potential? Okay, so Natalia, this is, just honestly, I could take 20 minutes to answer this question, but I'll give you a quick answer. So first of all, we are two different organizations. We have two different board of directors, different leadership teams. The Institutes for the Achievement of Human Potential is a great organization. I worked there for 12 years. I only have good things to say about them. So in the end, Natalia, you're absolutely welcome to look into both organizations. If you haven't talked to one of our representatives, you can. What I will say about Doman International, because I don't really want to talk about other organizations. I don't think that's fair. I wouldn't want other organizations to talk about us and say what we do if they don't know. So what I can say about Doman International is we are very focused on maintaining the philosophies and discoveries of my grandfather, Glenn Doman, along with innovating new treatment programs. And so every year we are focused on what are new speech development programs, what are new nutritional programs, mobility development programs, programs for independence, life skills, academic ability, right, that we can add to the program. And so we are trying to basically here at Doman International combine the best of the past and the future by taking my grandfather's work and then building on it. And so, you know, Doman International's leadership team includes me, but also my dad, Douglas, who's Glenn's son, and who trained under my grandfather for 40 years. I had the opportunity to work with my grandfather for about 7 years before he passed away. My mom, Rosalind Doman, also trained under my grandfather for 40 years. So Glenn Doman is an essential part of Doman International's work. He has influenced all of us. There isn't a single day that I work without thinking about him. I actually, right behind me, I have a picture of him, so he's always kind of like watching over me. So yeah, Natalia, you know, feel free to, if you haven't already, talk to one of our representatives. You know, I would recommend you maybe read some of Doman International's books, like the Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness or Answering Autism, if you want to know more about us. And I'm, you know, happy to answer, you know, further questions that you have. Okay, Anjali says, Doman Method courses. Is the Doman Method course also for well kids too? What does it include? Okay, Anjali. So for our programs for well children, go to domanlearning.com. Okay. Right now I'm doing this through Doman International's page. Doman International is a nonprofit organization that works specifically with families of children with special needs. But there's another company called Doman Learning that provides courses and materials for parents of well neurotypical kids on how do you teach your child to read before they're school age? How do you teach a child math? How do you, you know, teach your child, you know, encyclopedic knowledge? We cover a lot of great topics there. So yeah, I recommend you check out domanlearning.com, Anjali. And if you want to know anything more specifically about some of our programs for well kids, I am happy to answer them. All right. Everyone, I'm going to mute myself for 1 second. Hold on. Okay, I am back. Sorry, I'm having some battery issues, but it looks like it's okay, hopefully. Okay, let me get back to questions. Alexandra says, thank you. Oh, you're welcome. I don't know what I did, Alexandra, but I'm glad it helps. Okay, Anjali saying, isn't there a comprehensive course like the one that includes reading, math, baby programs, etc.? So Anjali, if you go to domanlearning.com, you'll see that there are 4 different courses, and you can either take them as separate courses or you can take them all together in essentially like a bundle, right? So there's a reading course, a math course, there's a course called Doman Books, and then there's another course called the Gift of Knowledge course, which is all about teaching using Doman cards, which is, you know, kind of like giving children knowledge about many different subjects. So you have an option. You can get all of those in one single comprehensive course, or you could get them separately. Okay. And that really depends, because some parents, when they're starting out, they know they want to do everything with their child. And so they get the bundle. And then other parents say, I just want to start with reading, see how it goes, see if this is something that's right for my child. So yeah, you have both options. The other thing, Anjali, is that all the courses have a kind of like free trial period, right? So you could purchase the course. I think it's like a 2-week free trial. You could see if it's for you and then decide if you want to keep it or not. All right. Anjali is saying, will that help throughout the journey from newborn to 6 years of age? I don't have to take any other course. That's correct. Yeah. The reading before school course, the math before school course, like each of those, whether you get the bundle or you get one single area, it really sets you up for, like, math is how do you start teaching math all the way to teaching simple algebra, for example. The reading course is how do you bring a child from teaching a child to read words all the way to reading independently. So the answer is yes. We might release other courses on other subjects in the future, but in terms of that specific subject, yes, it would provide you what you need. Hope that's helpful, Anjali. All right, everyone. I am open for more questions. While I'm waiting for the next question, if you haven't seen it already, I posted an announcement this morning, both on Facebook and on Instagram, about how we're launching a new online course, which is called Answering Autism, a Doman Method course. And it's a 4-week online course specifically for parents of children with autism and how to implement the Doman Method with kids with autism. And as I said, it's 4 weeks long. It's being launched in May. The first course will be held online in May. And we're limiting the course to 30 families because we feel very strongly, especially with starting something new, we want to make sure we can serve every family in the best possible way. And for that reason, we're limiting how many parents can enroll in this first course. Okay. Akhtar says, thank you for your reply. As the father of a boy with autism, I have some experiences of having trainings, both virtual and actual. I do believe that in-person training is much more effective. You have mentioned the names of some countries, which are developed countries where there are already facilities for the children. I am from Bangladesh, where we do not have as many facilities as needed. So I would like to request you to think about the children of my country. Many parents are financially poor. Sorry, I'm losing the rest of your comment. I can't unfortunately read the rest of it, Akhtar. But so Akhtar, in terms of the countries that we travel to, we go to those countries because there happen to be many families in those countries that have asked for us to come. Because and I won't get into too many details here because it's not worth your time, but for us to send staff to a location is very, very costly, right? It costs a lot to fly staff to different parts of the world. And so for that reason, if we're going to go to a new location, there have to be a large number of families in that location to, basically request for us to go for it to be worthwhile, for our team to go. It's also a time matter. Unfortunately, we have a limited number of staff and time as well. So, over time we've chosen those countries because of, because of that. Now, in terms of online versus in-person training, I agree with you that in-person is ideal. And I tell that to parents. The reason why our course is online is specifically because there are so many families that have difficulty traveling. And so we had to kind of make a decision, do we go live or online for our first course? And it's just the online course has opened up the course to, honestly, thousands or tens of thousands of families who would never have been able to travel to see us, or who may not be able to travel to see us now. And that's why we have an online course first. So basically, we try to give our parents the best of both worlds, either the online course or one of the in-person locations where we are. Okay. And by the way, Akhtar, if you want to learn more, send us a direct message. Whether you're on Facebook or Instagram, and one of our representatives will get back to you with an answer. All right. All right. Let's see. I've got a lot of questions on Instagram that I didn't see. Brain Rich Kids is asking, what would you recommend for older kids? If you're talking about our courses, I think I'd need a bit more information on like the age of the child and what their needs are, because the Doman learning courses, which are the courses for our well neurotypical kids, even for kids who might be 6, 7, 8 years old, who might either be struggling with reading or math or not confident readers or mathematicians, those courses can be very helpful. Okay, even up to like 6 to 8 years of age. And then even for kids 9 and up who have learning difficulties, the courses could be helpful. But for, kind of average neurotypical child, I'd say up to 8. All right. So Anjali is asking about Doman cards, right? Like using images to teach a child. And so she's asking, I have seen parents showing words plus pictures. Is it necessary? I only show pictures. Okay, so here I have a set of Doman cards, right? This is one of the ways that we teach children to basically give them knowledge on many, many different subjects, right? And so just to give you all an idea of what a session would look like, here we have a set of different flags of the world. So we'd say to the child, all right, John, let's see a set of flags of the world. So this is the flag of Germany. This is the flag of Spain, the flag of France. Here's the flag of Italy and the flag of the United Kingdom. Now, the reason why we use images is, first of all, children enjoy images, but also it's the easiest way for them to take in information, right? It's a single visual and we're telling the child the name. And children are able to learn very quickly in this way, and they enjoy it. And, they enjoy it. So even my 3-year-old nephew could rattle off these flags because he just loves it. And, he's been taught them with the right frequency that he can learn them. Now, you can see, Anjali, getting to your question, we don't put any text on the same card as the image. Why? Because if you were to put the flag of the United Kingdom here at the bottom, most children would just look at the image and ignore the text. So you don't have to show the name of these cards. You can just show the image. Now, what many parents will do if they're doing both this program, right, which is we call Doman cards, and if they're also doing the reading program, they might also show the names of these cards in the reading program, right? They might show a card, with, written Italy, and another one that says France, and another one that says United Kingdom. They can do that as a part of the reading program, and that's really nice because they're combining multiple Doman Method programs together, but it's not required. Okay. Oh, Natalia is saying, if you are a single parent, are you allowed onto the program? Absolutely. Absolutely, Natalia. We would never, ever, ever discriminate against a family for any reason. I mean, we've had hundreds and hundreds of single mothers on our program. We have single fathers on our program. We have grandparents doing our program. I mean, we have I've seen at this point, every kind of family unit that you could possibly imagine. So the answer is absolutely. Yeah, in fact, Natalia, this is not something that has happened yet, but right now we are in the process of actually applying for a grant from a foundation asking for scholarships, like a donation for scholarships to provide to single parent families. That's how much we care about those families. Thanks for asking. Okay. Sandrak Teran is saying, is this program compatible with other therapies? I have seen results with my child with developmental delay using TO. Now, I'm not sure what TO, Sandrak, is. Maybe it's the same as OT, which is occupational therapy. You'd have to clarify that. But sometimes in different languages, there are different abbreviations. If I started the Doman Method program, do I have to leave TO and speech therapy? So, Sandrak, yes, the quick answer is yes, this program is compatible. The Doman Method is actually really a program filled with complementary treatments. It is very, very rare that we ever have to tell a parent that you cannot do this other activity. And the only reason why we would ever say that to a parent is if there is a contraindication, right? Where we say, you know, this thing and our thing together is unsafe. But that being said, that is incredibly rare. Now, we will always be honest with our parents, and we will tell them sometimes, you know, we don't feel that this specific thing is worth your time and energy. But in the end, parents make the decisions. Like it's your child, and you should make the decisions that you feel are best for your kid. So yeah, we never tell a parent you can't do this or you can't do that. Like we don't do that. All we can do is give you our professional opinion, but we're always here for our families and provide them with the guidance and help they need. Okay. And by the way, I mean, Sandra, I have to say, I've even added certain elements into the Doman Method from other programs that I learned from parents. That, you know, a parent said to me, Spencer, we're trying this technique and it's really worked for my child. And we look into it, we learn about it. Maybe one of our staff members get certified in it. And we're like, wow, this is great. And we add it. Now, I have to say, many times we find things that are not helpful. I'd probably say 9 out of 10 times when we find something out there, we usually find it doesn't produce great results. It's not worth the time or the effort. Unfortunately, like that's what makes the world of special needs education so chaotic for parents, because so many things don't work and are costly and frustrating and all of the above. But, you know, I always say to parents, if you tell me you found something and it's helpful for your child, I'll never tell you to stop something which is helpful for your kid. Okay, Anjali said, I read the Doman book. It says older kids, like mine, who's 3 years old, need more repetition or review the cards often. Your views on this? So Anjali, in general, that's true. Kids usually ages 3 to 6 usually need more repetition. It's true. I wouldn't ever want to say that's in all cases, but very often that is the case. And it's because of the way the brain develops, usually in the first 3 years of life for, you know, kind of neurotypical kids. Their brains are created in a way that they're just absorbing all the stimulation from the world around them, right? They're just taking in information at an incredible rate. And then over time, what happens is there are more filters that are placed, you know, basically in place with brain development to learning. Now, the thing is, there's a trade-off there. As we get older, our ability to take in information usually goes down, but our ability to focus and concentrate increases, right? So there's a very important trade-off there. And the ability to focus and concentrate is very, very important to succeeding in the world. But to answer your question, Anjali, usually, yes, the younger the child is, the fewer repetitions they need. Anjali is saying, won't they get bored if they don't have the pictures? She says, my daughter loves it when I do the reading program with pictures. Okay, so Anjali, you can do pictures with the reading program, but the pictures and the words must be separated onto different cards. So for example, you would show a picture of, you know, a cow, and then on another card, you'd show the word cow. Then you'd show a picture of a horse, and then another card with the word horse. So it's fine for you to show cards like picture, word, picture, word, picture, word. That's fine. But you never show a picture and a word on the same card, because that's when you're not sure what the child is actually looking at. All right, Sappho is saying, I have a 7-year-old boy. What can I teach him in this time? How can we join your online program? Okay, so Sappho, about the online program, I'll start answering your question, but are you asking about our Doman learning courses for like neurotypical children on early reading and early math, or are you talking about our courses for kids with special needs? For a 7-year-old boy, I'm not sure if you heard me say this earlier, but both the Doman International courses for kids with special needs and the Doman Learning courses for well neurotypical kids can be very, very helpful even for children as they get older. And so for children with special needs, I mean, we have, I saw last week a family with an 18-year-old boy with autism who's having amazing results with our course for children with autism. So there's absolutely no age limit on that. Now, if the child, Safo, is a well neurotypical kid, Safo's asking about early teaching for typical kids. Yeah, so what I was saying before, the Doman Learning courses, like the reading course and the math course, could be used with a child even 6 to 8 years old if they aren't yet a confident reader and mathematician. And when I say a confident reader, I mean you can hand them a commercial book and they can read it easily, quietly, and take in the information. Or with the math course, if your child isn't able to do arithmetic, like they can't add, subtract, multiply, and divide, Doman Learning's Math Before School course could be very, very helpful for you. So yeah, and I would say probably the typical 7-year-old doesn't yet do those things. Maybe they can add, but they usually can't do all 4 operations. And in the US, at the age of 9, 2/3 of children do not read or do math at age level. That's how bad it is in my country, the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and we can't teach kids to read or do math in school. Like that's a severe, severe problem, and I know that it's a problem in most countries. So absolutely, a 7-year-old could greatly benefit from the Doman Learning courses. All right. Anjali is saying, my daughter has started learning phonics in school. Will it affect my reading program? Also, thank you for patiently answering all of our questions. Sure. So this is a question I get often, and it's a major concern for parents. If my child has learned or is learning phonics in school, could that stop my child from learning to read with the Doman method? The answer is no. It's not a problem. So even if a child is being taught, for example, letters in school, the thing about teaching children words, sight words, like we do with the Doman method, is there's a small area in our brain called the visual word form area. It's a part of the brain, and its only job is to read words. Okay. So for example, if I show you this word, the visual word form area of your brain immediately recognizes that word as shopping, right? You don't have to go shopping. No, your brain immediately recognizes this word if you're able to read in English, right? So the way our program works is we're teaching that part of the brain, the visual word form area, how to recognize words. So even for children that are being taught phonics, even though phonics is not the most successful or the quickest way to teach a child to read, teaching them how to read words doesn't interfere at all with that process. And in fact, there's been a lot of research that's been done where they compared children who only learned with phonics. By the way, when I say phonics, everyone, I mean the ability to kind of like read by recognizing letters and the sounds that they make. And they compared the children that learned phonics compared to children who learned both phonics and sight words, like the Doman method, and children that learned with both did much better than children that only learned with phonics, right? And phonics it's not ideal in any language because it's not how the brain reads, but especially in languages like English that aren't perfectly phonetic, it becomes really problematic, right? Like someone who's reading phonetically, this word might go sahopying, right? That would be a completely fine way to read this word using phonics. And yet we all know it's shopping, right? Not sahopying, okay? But that's the craziness of written language. And it's why children have to be able to read entire words rather than letter by letter. All right. This is a question that I'm seeing here, but it's very similar to the question I just got on Instagram, which is I have a 7-year-old boy. What can I teach him? Do you have any courses so we can participate with you? So yeah, so I would recommend going to domanlearning.com and checking out the reading before school course and the math before school course. For a child who's neurotypical, doesn't have any special needs, those are the two things that you could check out to help him, at the very least, read books independently at a high level, do math at a very high level. It would be very, very helpful for him. All right. All right, I've got a question here from Ahura who says, thank you so much, Spencer. I have a brother called Nelson who has cerebral palsy. My dad died. I'm very sorry to hear that, Ahura. I live with my mother. I got to know you from your website, and I've already received a book from Colleen Hudson. She's really helped me a lot. I am from Uganda, and I wish I knew about this method before my brother. He's now 15 years old. I organize other mothers with such children, and we read the book together. Wow, that's really beautiful, Ahura. That's amazing. Is it possible for a 15-year-old? Oh, geez, I can't read her. I can't read the rest of your comment. I'm sorry. I'm using a software, but it won't allow me to see the rest of your question. All I can see is it possible for my 15-year-old with cerebral palsy? And then I can't see anything after that. Can you post the rest of your question for me? So first of all, Ahura, I think it's really admirable that you are, reading the books with other moms. There was actually a time, our European center is in Italy. It's where all the families from Europe and many families from the Middle East come for us to see their children. But there was a time when we had a waiting list where literally families would contact us and we would say, we can't see you for a year because we don't have enough places. And what we would actually do is have mothers or dads connect with other families who were already doing the program, go to their house, see how the program was being done. And that was kind of what they would start doing before they could come to us. And so what you're saying about like learning with other parents is really touching. Now I'm not sure what the rest of your question is, but I'm probably guessing you're saying, is it really possible for a 15-year-old with cerebral palsy to make gains? And the answer is absolutely. This last week, we just had a child in for an appointment who is 18 and has cerebral palsy, who is moving for the first time. He's moving. He learned how to move with our program. He was completely immobile. And so absolutely it's possible. And so I think, Ahura, you're off to the right start with the Doman Method book. Now, what would I recommend for your brother from the Doman Method book? Well, I'd recommend the reading program, which is, let me see if I can even tell you the chapter. So everyone, I've got the Doman Method book here. I'm just going to tell Ahura what chapters might be. I think the whole book would be helpful, Ahura, but definitely chapter 8, how to teach your child to read, chapter 9 and 10, which are about cognitive development, but also enhancing speech development. I'm sure for most children with cerebral palsy, speech is an issue. So I definitely recommend chapters 8, 9, and 10. And then, of course, chapters 11 and 12 are so important for him, about patterning, which is the first step in mobility, and then the inclined floor, which is how to get him mobile for the first time independently in his life. So basically, chapters 8 through 12 are really important. Now, I still recommend you read all the chapters. I mean, the nutrition chapters are important. The sensory chapters are important. But I think, 8 through 12, if you had to start somewhere, that's where I would begin if I was you. I hope that helps. All right, let me go back to questions. Oh, Sappho is saying, what about your courses? How do we join? So yeah, if you want to join the reading or math courses, Sappho, you just go to domanlearning.com. Actually, I think I can put this in the domanlearning.com. I'm posting it in the chat. Hopefully you can see it. I'll put it here as well. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so domanlearning.com, you can find our reading and math courses there. Right. Who else has a question? I've got a few minutes left. By the way, everyone, I'm trying out this new software that allows me to stream simultaneously on the different platforms. So, it allows me to go live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I think X, which used to be Twitter, all at the same time. So, let me know, it also allows me to like add my name and the logo and the banner below me, all of this stuff. So, let me know if you have any positive feedback or issues, with this Q&A, in terms of technology, let me know, because I am learning how to use it. I mean, from my end, it looks really good, but interested in any feedback people have. Okay, Sucheta says, my daughter has dystonia and has spastic diplegia. What are the most important exercises I can do with a 2-year-old? So Sucheta, we have a lot of programs that can be helpful for your child. My grandfather, Glenn Doman, who started this work, was a physical therapist, and really a lot of his life was spent on just focus on how do I get children to walk who can't walk. That was one of the things he literally thought about every day of his life. And so, I'm going to give you a similar answer, Sucheta, to the sister that I just mentioned, which is in the Doman Method book, you'll find certain programs that will be very helpful for mobility development, right? That, about how do you get your child moving independently on their own. One thing that I did not mention is there's also a chapter in this book about Doman Method oxygenation, which is a oxygenation program that we utilize with children that helps reduce spasticity in their muscles. So the main food of the human brain is oxygen. And so we found that when we can increase oxygen delivery to the human brain, that brain function improves. And often one of the things we see is decreased spasticity, right? So very often, even with doing our oxygenation program, which involves a specific mask and inhalation, I'll see a spastic child, arms and legs start to loosen up. And that makes our other programs more effective, because our other programs are focused on how to teach a child to move independently. And when they're less spastic, they improve much faster from our other programs. So those of you who have children with spasticity or rigidity, I think would be very interested in the Doman Method book. Okay. I'd also recommend, I know there are a lot of you who are kind of new to the program and interested, check out domaninternational.org, which is our website. And Sucheta, I would recommend getting in contact with, actually, tell me, if you don't mind, tell me what country in the world you're in, because I can connect you with one of our staff in your region, if we have someone there who might be able to jump on a call and kind of talk you through things a bit. All right. Pablo says it looks very neat. Thank you, Pablo. I appreciate that. That was answering my question about the new, these new technological things with this live. Okay. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Amoro Guwa is asking, what is the process for starting the Answering Autism program in May? Okay, so the process is, first and foremost, reach out to us, because we're limiting it to 30 places. So reach out to us and jump on a call with our director of representatives. Her name is Colleen Hudson. Colleen can answer your questions. She can tell you about the dates of the course, the amount of time, it'll take in the 4 weeks that we teach the course. And she'll just kind of explain the process for you. So that's step number 1, talk to Colleen. Step number 2 in kind of preparation for the course, I would recommend you get the Answering Autism book, which is, a book that, teaches you about how to start implementing the Doman Method programs with a child with autism. I was speaking to a mom, I think last week, with a 9-year-old, and, her child basically started talking after she read this book. So it can, a 9-year-old, most parents would be told your child will never talk if they're not talking at that point. So, I would recommend talk to Colleen, get the book, and then Colleen can help you with the actual enrollment process. Now, the course itself will cover things like, how do you assess your child's development, right, compared to their peers? That's very important that you know immediately when you're taking the course where are the areas that your child is behind other kids in their development. Now, sometimes that's very obvious for parents, but there are usually other areas where it's not obvious. And the reason why that's important is it allows the parents to learn from the rest of the course what are the different treatment programs that their child needs. That's all in the first week. How do you assess your child's development? How can we get a child with autism developing at a faster rate? The next weeks of the course are focused on what to actually do about the issue, right? So we'll have different topics on speech development, how to teach a child to read, all the way from teaching them how to read words all the way to reading books. How do we improve communication with a child who has poor speech? We focus on sensory development, children who have auditory issues and tactile issues, which are very common for kids with autism. What do you do about it? We're going to cover physical activities. A lot of parents of children with autism don't realize how important doing certain physical activities are for reducing hyperactivity, improving focus and concentration, improving coordination, reducing irritability, right? So we teach parents the best physical activities to do with a child, to get those kind of and also improve speech development. And then also we teach parents about the Doman Method oxygenation program, which you probably heard me mention earlier. It's very, very helpful, again, for focus, concentration, learning ability, speech development, a lot of the biggest issues that kids with autism have. All right. I hope that's helpful. The first course is in May. We don't have a second course planned yet. This is a brand new thing for us. I mean, the information isn't new. It's what we've been teaching parents with kids with autism for decades, right? But the course is brand new. And so for that reason, we're keeping it a limited group of 30 families to start off with. All right. Pablo is saying, what are the best programs for speech development for a 6-year-old with no other symptoms? Okay, Pablo, good question. Now, Pablo, I want to say a quick aside before I answer your question. In my experience, 6-year-olds who have a speech delay, usually, I'd probably say 9 times out of 10, they usually have other foundational neurological issues. In other words, very often with these children, if I check certain reflexes, kind of low-level primitive reflexes, sometimes they're not normal. Or if I ask the child to get down and do certain kind of foundational physical movements like crawling on the belly or creeping on the hands and knees, very often it's uncoordinated. Very often these children have certain kinds of visual issues that can make learning more challenging for them. So I just want to say that because very often when a family will come and say, my child only has one issue, usually when one of our staff evaluates that child, we actually discover there are other issues that are often getting in the child's way from actually speaking. And kind of like once you address the foundational issues, the speech can improve. Now, to talk a little bit about what are different activities for speech development. Well, I'll give you one activity, and then if you want like more information, you can go to our books, okay, to learn more. I'll tell you about the most elemental speech program that we do, which are the use of songs. Okay. And I haven't sat down and counted how many speech programs we have, but we probably have 25 plus different programs and activities for speech development. But songs are the most simple, fun, and easy, let's say, first activity for speech development. So let me talk you through how this works. So you take a song that you think your child's going to enjoy, right? Let's say we're going to do the song Happy Birthday, right? So let's say the child's name is John, and we're going to do songs as part of the child's speech development, okay? So usually for the first 3 days, we just sing the song to the child, right? So we'd sing, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear John, happy birthday to you, right? We sing that song to the child. And we do that 3 times a day for 3 days. 3 times every day, 3 days. So that's maybe 9 repetitions the child is hearing. Okay, now on day 4, this is where it actually becomes a speech development program. Because we say to the child, okay, we're going to sing happy birthday now, but we're going to sing it together. I'm going to leave you the last word. Okay, are you ready? Okay, so then you start singing again. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John. Happy birthday to. And you leave the last word for the child. Okay. So the idea is now we've left that last word for the kid. Now the kid knows the last word is you. He knows it's happy birthday to you. He knows that. He's heard the song a bunch of times, right? Over the last 3 days. So he knows the word is you, but he also knows that you know that the word is you. So he will fill in the word you. Now, I have to say, many children in the beginning, they have to even realize like, oh, wow. Mom or dad is waiting for me to fill in the word. So usually over a few days, the child becomes more comfortable with this process, and over time they start to fill in their word. Now, sometimes the child will not articulate the word well. They might go, ooh, or something like that, but that's fine. They don't need to articulate the word perfectly because you and your child know that your child is saying you, and that's a new word for your kid. And so the reason why we do it with songs is because it's fun, and many children are more comfortable with singing than they are with speaking, even though it is a form of speech. And so the children are much more inclined to actually participate in the activity of songs, right? And so what you basically do is once your child is starting to fill in that word you, then you say, okay, let's add another song. Let's do Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, So then you would sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star for 3 days. And, on the 4th day, you would, finish off by going, how I wonder what you, and you let the child fill in that last word, right? So songs are one of the most simple speech development programs that we use. Now, I want to say that we have, as I said, maybe 20, 25 different speech and language activities, but we usually find that we need to incorporate other holistic activities to get excellent speech out of a child. So for example, we often have to do oral stimulation inside and outside of the mouth, so the child has a full awareness of their mouth and tongue, okay? Very often, children that have speech issues have respiratory issues. Very often, children with speech issues cannot regulate their breath. Okay, think about it for 1 second. I'm talking to you right now, and between my sentences, I'm breathing in. And then as I'm speaking, I'm gradually letting my air out, right? I'm exhaling as I complete this sentence. Now, you and I do this every day without even thinking about it. We breathe, we exhale as we're talking, no problems. But for a child who cannot regulate their own breath, they can't regulate when they inhale, when they exhale, it becomes almost impossible to speak, okay? And so, because you need to exhale as you talk. And so we have certain respiratory programs, also called oxygenation programs, that improve breathing control and ability. And when we do that, we find the child speaking more. So in other words, Pablo, it's not just about doing one activity with the child. You have to take a holistic approach. Now, one activity could improve speech development, right? It could bring a child from not speaking to saying some words. Like I mentioned before, there was a 9-year-old child, the mom read the Answering Autism book, 9 years old, couldn't speak. And now the child, I think, says 10 words, in a couple of months after reading the book, which, I mean, at 9 years old, going from not speaking to 10 words is a huge deal. And that was just from a couple of activities in that book. But that being said, like if you want to get a child speaking fluently, it's going to require more than just a few speech activities. You have to take this holistic approach, especially for boys. I mean, this is for children in general, but yeah. Usually we're using 8 to 12 areas of the brain in unison when we're talking, right? So for a child with any neurodevelopmental issue, right, even if one part of the brain of those 8 to 12 areas is impacted, it's going to impact speech. But if 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, are impacted, it's going to be much bigger issues. So that's why you have to take a holistic approach and try to address as much of brain development as possible. Okay, Amoro Gunwa is asking, how do you reach the director of learning, Colleen Hudson, to talk about the Answering Autism course? I'm going to put this, Amoro Gunwa, I'm putting Colleen's email address in the comments. It's info@domaninternational.org. info@domaninternational.org. Okay. If you email that address, that's fine. And then also you can send us messages. If you send us a direct message on Instagram or Facebook, we'll also get Colleen in touch with you. Okay. And that goes for any parent who wants to learn more about our programs. All right, everyone, I think, oh yeah, Pablo is saying he didn't crawl like the usual. Yeah, Pablo, very often kids with learning and speech challenges did not crawl on their bellies and creep on their hands and knees before they walked, or if they did it, it's with very poor quality. Okay. And crawling and creeping are essential milestones that are really needed for brain development. The University of London did an amazing study where they followed something like several thousand children and their mobility development. And they found that if a child did not creep on their hands and knees by 9 months of age, their chances of being diagnosed with a cognitive delay, a cognitive problem, just rose by, it multiplied. If a child did not creep on their hands and knees by 9 months of age, their chances of having a cognitive problem multiplied. And that's what my grandfather observed this in the 1950s and was talking about it. And often was called crazy for it too, by the way. I think the University of London study was probably done maybe 10 years ago, something like that. So it took 50, 60 years for a lot of the kind of scientific research to back up what he was noticing clinically. And so for many children, that's why actually crawling on the belly and creeping on the hands and knees is an actual part of their treatment. We do it as a part of their treatment program because it's kind of like filling in it's kind of like if you try to build a house on a poor foundation, that the house can't stand. That's how it is. Many children, even if they walk and run, we need to do crawling and creeping with them to kind of fill in that foundation of their brain development. And when we do that, the child really thrives. Sandrak is asking, do we have someone of Doman International in Peru for an appointment? We don't have anyone in Peru, Sandrak, but we do have families from all around Latin America. So Sandrak, I'd recommend you send us a direct message. Okay. After this, just send us a direct message and I'll connect you with Marialba Mata, who's our South American representative. She lives in Venezuela and she can give you more information. All right. And I'm putting there in the comments, right, hopefully you can see, sorry, like that. You can see the email for Colleen if you would like to reach out to her. All right, everyone, we are all out of time. Thanks so much for joining today. I will be back next week at the same time. I'm going to try. I'm not traveling, to any of our international locations for the next maybe 4 to 5 weeks or so. So I'm going to try to keep this time as consistently as I possibly can. Everyone, have a really good rest of your week. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.